So again, welcome everybody to the Bhagavad Gita class. I haven't given a class probably in 5 to 6 months. I've been doing something differently at that time. I've been going to different colleges, universities, mostly dealing with young people and conducting seminars on this spiritual knowledge. So it feels good to be back here and to be back on this seat, even though I don't really deserve to be on this seat, but I'm sitting here today, so I'll try to do my best. So this verse is really spectacular. It first discusses the aspects of knowledge and how important it is to have knowledge in our lives. Knowledge, you can also say education, is defined differently in the West sense of the world in comparison to the Eastern sense of the world. In the West, I actually looked it up. I went on Google and I typed in education, and the definition that came back was to give instruction. That's what it means to have knowledge, to give instruction, according to the West. But according to these texts and according to the East, actually, according to the word education, if you really break it down, educo is the Latin word for education, and that means to develop from within. So the Western term is saying to give instruction, meaning that education comes from the outside. But the Eastern term is saying that education is something that you develop from within, something that you draw out, educo. Another word in English is educe, that means to take out. So it's something that should come naturally from within. And you see right now in the current school system, elementary schools, all the way up to college, kids are forced to be in their desks all day long, and they're given instruction and they're given so-called knowledge, but are they really developing from within? That's something we should really discuss. Real education should be something that is realized. It doesn't come when you sit idly alone at a desk trying to receive instruction. There's actually a really wonderful story around this topic. There was this young girl named Jillian. She was about 5 years old, 6 years old maybe, and she would sit at her desk all day long in school, and she would receive these tests. The teachers would tell her to do this, to do that, and she just wasn't doing good in school. And she was also not able to really take instructions so wisely. She was really fidgeting and moving around. So the school actually labeled her pretty much dumb, retarded, etc. And this girl's mother got really worried because she loved her daughter so much, and she couldn't believe that this school is telling me that my daughter is dumb and retarded. It was really saddening to her. So she took her daughter to actually a doctor to just see what's going on with her little girl. And so they were in this room and they were trying to analyze the little girl, see if there was something actually wrong with her. And the doctor was analyzing, and then he told her at the end, okay, Jillian, stay in this room for a few minutes. Me and your mother are going to talk outside. And before the doctor left the room, he turned on the radio. And the room was set up in such a way where the doctor and the mother can see inside the room, but the little girl had no idea anybody was watching her. And so they started to observe her as she was alone in this room with the radio on. And within seconds, she was up on her feet. She started dancing, twirling around, listening to the radio, understanding the movements, etc., etc. And then the doctor looked at the mother and said, "There's nothing wrong with your little girl. You have to put her in a dance school." So the mother listened to this advice. She put this little girl in a dance school. This little girl, Jillian Lynn, went on to win awards and trophies and is the choreographer and founder of one of the biggest Broadways in the world called Cats. So at one point in her life, a school was labeling her dumb and retarded, but this doctor was able to see that there was something more, and he took her from that condition and put her in the right condition. Because sometimes kids need to move to think. They cannot be left sitting idly. They have to realize the knowledge from within. So we can actually see this in nature also. Actually, nature dislikes idleness in all its forms. And I'll give you an example. If you tie up like a portion of my arm with the rope, let's say I tie this up and I tie it up with the rope, what's going to happen to my arm if it's just tied up like that? It's basically going to degenerate. It's going to become lifeless. It's going to start to turn blue. But let's say I do the reverse. Let's say I put this arm to use, and let's say I start working this arm. What's going to happen? It's going to grow strong. It's going to grow powerful. Because nature gives life to those things that are in use, not to those things that are idle. In the same way, we have to use this body. We have to use this mind. We have to be of service to the world. We have to be instruments of compassion for the world rather than sitting idly somewhere in some cave in the Himalayas, some jungle, and not doing anything. Rather, it's actually a higher level to put this body into use and to serve the Supreme. So there's actually a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that talks about this. Yogi nam api sarvesham mat gatananta atmanam sharavam bhajate yomam same yukta tatmo mataha. And basically Krishna is saying that out of all the different types of yogas and meditations, the highest form of yoga is when you actually serve me, when you actually use this body and engage this body in my service. So we should engage everything in Krishna's service. And this is really a moment-to-moment choice. Because every moment we can decide, am I serving myself in my mind, or am I actually serving the Supreme and the Divine? And I see this all the time. When I wake up in the morning, I usually take morning walks. So I would go to this hill every single morning. And I'm thinking, wow, this is great. It's 5:30 a.m. I'm getting a lot of fresh air. I'm getting a lot of exercise. And usually 3-4 days out of the week, I see this person who's also making a choice, and they're sitting on the stoop of their home. And I could see them. It's 5:30 a.m. They're outside. They're glued to their cell phone and they're smoking a cigarette. So that's the choice that they're making, and that's they're gonna get a reaction to that. And then there's spiritual or mode of goodness choices we're making, and we're gonna get reactions to that. And cell phones these days are a big problem in the world. We are constantly glued to these phones. They say that the biggest booming business right now is to be a chiropractor, because everyone is having neck problems because their heads are always down. And if you look at this word, cell phone, the word cell is there. Same thing with a jail cell. It's almost like a prison. Uh, but you can still use that phone for higher service. It's depending on how you use that object. So, to give an example, uh, the way I use my cell phone is I use it to try to spread higher enlightenment. So we've started some new programs and clubs around Los Angeles. We have a club at the University of Southern California, USC, called the LA Meditation Club. We have another club at UCLA, and then we have another program called Mantra House. And this happens every single week, 3-4 times a week. And so I use the cell phone to help promote, to help invite people, to try to get people to come to these events. And people actually do. These clubs are really booming. And now I'm engaging the cell phone for a higher purpose. I don't feel like I'm degrading my consciousness by using the phone. So, like that, we can do that for any single object in this world. You can take any object and spiritualize it. Just like they have this King Midas in the Golden Touch, where anything he touches becomes gold. In the same way, you can become a devotee with the spiritual touch, and anything you touch can become spiritual based on how you use that object. And again, it's a moment-to-moment choice, and we should have proper consciousness and proper practice so we can make the right choice at every single moment. And this is what Krishna says pleases him the most in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that those that spread enlightenment in this world is what pleases me the most. So we should take this into consideration. By joining the Krishna's army, by joining Krishna's troop, by becoming basically in the Lord's army, you eventually come into the Lord's arms. So we have to really represent ourselves as soldiers, spiritual soldiers. The word soldiers has the word soul in there. So we should have soul as a soldier and just help to spread higher and higher fulfillment in life. And that's what our mission is all about. We don't really fight with guns. We fight with books. We fight with knowledge. We go out and we distribute these books to different places, college festivals, music festivals, events, because we feel that these books can really purify somebody's consciousness. There's a famous writer named Christopher Morley, and he says when you give someone a book, you don't just give them ink, paper, and glue. You give them a possibility of a whole new life. So that's the power of these books. They're jam-packed with transcendental gems, spiritual wisdom. And I've had just so many experiences by doing this book distribution in meeting spectacular people. People are actually hungry for this knowledge at this point in time. And it just takes some right development for them to come to this knowledge, but eventually they will. I remember one time I set up this very attractive book table at a college, and I had a sign that said meditation books. And I was there, and within the next 10-15 minutes, this lady, she was maybe in her 20s or 30s, she comes running to my book table from maybe 500, 600 feet away. She's like sprinting to my book table. And she's so excited to get these books. She actually has a yoga mat on her backpack. And so I could tell this lady's very spiritual. And she like grabs one, grabs two, grabs three, grabs four. She takes a whole stack. And I'm like, wow, thank you. These books we give out, people leave donations if they like to, and she gave a very nice donation as well. So she was very wonderful. And then I told her, I said, it's so wonderful that you're on this path of spiritual enlightenment. And she said, yeah, it is wonderful. And I'm so happy that I am. And if this was a month ago, then I would have probably just walked past your table and not even paid attention to your table. And I said, really? She said, yeah. If this was a month ago, I could care less about these books. I was like, wow, just 1 month ago? And I was really surprised because here she is. She has yoga mat, yoga pants, yoga everything. She's totally yogaed out. And I'm like, so what happened this last month? What was the big change? And she said that she was out partying with her friends, and it was 1, 2, 3 in the mornings. That was her normal life. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, time to party. She was out and about, and she was walking to her car alone, and all of a sudden, a man swoops from behind with a gun and puts it to her head and says, "Give me your purse." And he takes that purse from her. And she came this close to death. And because she was that close to death, she realized how precious life is. And she started to ask serious questions in life. And within that month, she made a complete transformation. So a lot of us are distracted in this world with so many high-tech special effects flashing on the screen. And when we come to a higher state of consciousness, we actually understand that there's something more important in life, that all this is temporary, all this is kind of flickering, and we should really ask deeper questions in life, like where am I going? What am I actually doing? I give this example sometimes that if you're on an airplane and you're in the sky, you're pretty much stuck. You're there on that airplane. There's nothing you can do unless you have a parachute. So on that airplane, you can do a lot of things. You can eat potato chips or pretzels or peanuts, whatever they give you, whatever you order. You can watch movies on the plane. You can listen to music on the plane. You can talk to your fellow passengers on the plane. If you're qualified, you can move up to first class on the plane. But the whole objective of the plane is to understand, where is this plane going? Where am I actually landing? In the same way, in this life, we can do a lot of things. We can eat potato chips. We can talk amongst each other. We can listen to movies or listen to music, watch movies. We can work hard and move up to first class or downgrade to a lower class. But the whole objective of life is to understand, where am I going? What is the purpose? This body is a plane. So we have to see things in proper perspective. They say that the death rate, last time anybody checked, is 100%. We all got to go through it. So with 100% death rate, we should strive to have 100% accuracy in passing that test. And so this is a form of study that we're here to do. And Krishna is giving that knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita on how to pass over all these obstacles. I had another incident where I was distributing books on a college campus, and I gave this book to a student. And then an hour passes by or so, and I see him again. And he's so excited. He comes up to me. He practically hugs me. And I'm like, wow, you seem so excited. And he's like, I am excited. I'm on page 30 of this book. I was like, wow, really? And he's like, yeah, it makes so much sense now that there's actually only one God, but there's many different names for that one God. And the whole goal of life is to love that one God. It just makes so much sense. And I was just thinking, that simple idea, it's such common sense, but they say common sense isn't so common these days. And somebody might have common sense, but they don't have common practice, meaning they know what they have to do, but they can't actually apply it. And so that's why we're here, to be messengers of hope, a voice for hope. When I went to India about a year ago, I went this year also, but I went last year, and I had so many amazing spiritual experiences. And then when I came back, I had to get back to this service of book distribution. And at the time, I was looking to drink more water throughout the day, because they just say how important it is to drink a lot of water. So I went to this store called REI in Santa Monica, California, and they had this huge water jug. And I parked my car in one of those parking lots. So, and I was still totally raptured by India, just everything that I was experiencing there, seeing giant elephants on the road, seeing just people waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. doing yoga, meditation on the streets. It's a real spiritual atmosphere. So that was still going on in my mind. And I remember that when I purchased my item, the big water jug, I went back to the parking lot, and there was a whole line of cars waiting to come out one by one. And there was a lady at the parking booth, and she looked really depressed. She looked really morose. And I could just see what she was doing is she basically takes a ticket, and then the thing lifts, and then she says bye, the car goes, and then she takes the next ticket, things lift, cars goes. So I was in line, and finally I got to the front. And so she took my ticket. She said, how are you? And I said, good. I guess it's like an automatic reflex these days. We just say good out of, I don't know, it's just like a common thing. So I said, good. So she was like, okay. And then there was like a little bit of a jumble with the machine. And so she was just trying to fix it. And so she went further and she asked, so how was your day? And I looked at her real deeply in the eyes, and I said, it was very spiritual. And I folded my hands to her like this. And by doing that, she kind of came out of her robot formalities all of a sudden. And she was saying, she said, wow, that's so beautiful. And she almost had like a tear in her eye. And then the barrier lifted and my car went. And then I looked back, I could see from the steering view, she was looking to the ceiling with a big smile. So I was just thinking how people need hope, and we can be messengers of that hope. We can be representatives of that hope, no matter where we go. They say that this world is what it is, not because a few people are violent. This world is what it is because too many people are silent. We're not really speaking up in life. We're not really representing ourselves properly and representing these teachings. People need this hope. People need to hear this message. So it's really important that we just embrace that culture of spreading enlightenment, spreading knowledge everywhere we go. And with this this role of book distribution, we're trying to think of new ways of where we can put these books, where can we give this spiritual knowledge. So about a few years ago, our society had the idea that when people go to hotels and motels, when you open the drawer on the cupboard, you see the Bible there. So why not put the Bhagavad Gita also next to the Bible? And so we started doing that. We started approaching all these hotel owners, motel owners. We started pitching our idea, and they were very receptive to it. So now literally there's thousands of Bhagavad Gitas in hotels and motels across North America. And what happens is that the guest is so excited to take this book home. Actually, he approaches the hotel motel owner saying, "Can I have this book?" I remember one time I was set up with my book table, and this guest came. I was actually set up at a place called Griffith Observatory, where there's thousands of tourists. And because there's thousands of tourists, they're all in hotels and motels. So I was there, and this guest was walking, and then all of a sudden he saw the Bhagavad Gita, and he tapped his wife on the shoulder, and he was like, "Honey, there it is. There's that book." And the wife was like, "Oh, there you go, hollering again. What you talking about now?" And then the husband's like, "No, look, there's the book." And he like held it up in the sky, and he almost kissed it. And he was saying, "Oh, this book is so special to me." And I was asking him, "How do you know about this book?" And he said that I opened up my drawer at my hotel that I was just in, and I saw this Bhagavad Gita next to the Bible. And because this book was next to the Bible, I knew that this must be an important book. And so he started reading it, and it started changing his life. So what a wonderful thing. And all this is possible. All that we're experiencing, the spiritual enlightenment, it's through different heroes that come and save us from our condition. So Srila Prabhupada is somebody who actually risked his life in order to translate these books from the ancient Sanskrit writings into English word for word. And he took a ship and came from India to America in order for us to just purify our life a little bit better. And I was thinking about this, the word hero. It's such a powerful word. And there's so many so-called heroes in this world. There's so many so-called leaders in this world. But who's a real hero? And I was really thinking about this. And I was saying, okay, for me to follow a hero or to follow a leader, that hero, first off, needs to be either vegetarian or vegan, because they have to understand the principle of compassion to animals. They have to embrace that and live those teachings. So just with that qualification, that automatically eliminates 90% of the so-called heroes out there. So now I'm left with 10%. I got two more qualifications. Second qualification, they have to understand that we are more than just this skin color. We're not really black or white. We're not really even Indian, Mexican. We're not these nationalities. We're not even really these religions. We're something beyond this. We're spiritual beings. We're spiritual sparks connected to the Supreme Whole, and we're all part of a spiritual family. My hero needs to understand and imbibe those principles. So maybe now I'm down to 5% of the people out there. Now who's gonna really come up to that last qualification? And for me to follow a hero, I would have to feel that this individual actually sacrificed his life to try to save me, actually put his life at risk to try to save me. I would feel very indebted to that individual. And to me, that's Srila Prabhupada. It narrows it down to him. And he's my hero. So I'm just very thankful for everything that he went through. When he first came to America, he had to go through many obstacles, and he had to really humble himself. Just dealing with the different people that he was dealing with. Actually, some people even threatened his life, even threatened to kill him. He came here with only a typewriter and was translating. And then he was actually trying to translate the Gita. And while he was here, within his first or second year, someone broke into his room and stole that typewriter, one of his only possessions. So many obstacles he was going through, and he was really just just amazing just to see. It's like a movie. So they say that the tree that has the most fruits is the tree that bends to the ground first, meaning those that have the most beautiful qualities are the ones who can really be exemplary when it comes to humility. They say that a materialist is decorated by his fine jewelry, but a spiritualist is decorated by his fine qualities. So we have to really embrace those teachings. So today we are talking about what is real knowledge. And to me, real knowledge is to be humble, is to be gentle, is to be kind, is to be caring, is to be compassionate, and to be instruments of compassion and try to spread that compassion to the world. And when we do that, we can make the world more harmonious. Krishna will be pleased with us, and our hero Srila Prabhupada will bless us. So thank you very much for being here and listening. Does anybody have any comments, questions at all that they would like to say? So then I can ask, is there one thing that you maybe remember from this talk that kind of stood out to you? Something that you're kind of reflecting on? I can like sit here all day, so it's like no problem. Humbleness. Yeah, it's important. Real knowledge. Yeah. 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 What does it mean to be humble? Yeah, so we have a verse in our teachings that say that we should try to be humbler than a blade of grass. And that's kind of hard because everybody's stepping on grass, and it just takes it, doesn't try to fight back. Um, I guess when you really understand that everything that's happening is arranged uh, by a supreme being, by Krishna. Just like when I was walking here the other day, I kind of stubbed my toe a little bit. And I can think like, man, why did this happen? Why did Krishna do this to me? I'm so amazing. Why do you do that? I'm such a great devotee. Yeah, false ego, this and that. But a devotee, he kind of thinks like, whoa, that's all you gave me, Krishna? You just like stubbed my toe? I mean, I deserve much worse. And this is all you did. Thank you. Thank you for just giving me this much. That's like humility, that's humbleness. And when we live our lives for the development, the welfare, and the happiness of others rather than ourselves, that's also humility and humbleness. We just embrace this aspect of becoming instruments of compassion for the world. And by reading the Bhagavad Gita, we can really see how to become instruments and play beautiful sounds to make the world harmonious. So, yeah, that's why it's important to always read uh, a little bit each day whenever you can. Uh, when I give out books to people, I tell them to read these books in the morning, right when you wake up. Because when your day goes on, then it's kind of hard to understand it sometimes. But if you wake up right away and just read something, it stays in your mind and you can meditate it on the whole day and you can share it with others. So it's really wonderful to give knowledge, share knowledge, and that also makes us humble because we realize that we're just tiny little sparks all connected to something much greater. And by pleasing that greater, higher being, Krishna, we then truly please ourselves. We truly become happy, peaceful, and blissful. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's a good question and reflection. So the Bhagavad Gita mentions that it's not that somebody is like punching us and then we're just thinking, oh, thank you, Krishna, I deserve much more, but you're just giving me punches and you just tolerate. No, Bhagavad Gita says that there's 6 types of aggressors where you can actually retaliate when that happens. So it goes into that in detail. Um, Even our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, one time he was lying down in India and there was this mosquito and it was really big with like needles or whatever just coming out of its body and looked really hideous, and all the devotees were scared, and Srila Prabhupada was like, no, just let it be. It's not doing anything, it's not harming anyone, just let it live its life. So the mosquito was spared and it was just buzzing around, and all of a sudden it went on Srila Prabhupada and it bit him, and then he's like, all right, kill it. So yeah, as soon as they retaliate, we can retaliate. Yeah, that's the general principle. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have Prema Sankirtan in the audience, and he kind of does what I do similarly. He goes out and distributes books, and he's been distributing for how many years now? Yeah, 27 years. So it's pretty amazing. He's kind of dedicated his life to give spiritual wisdom. Mm. Yeah, that's not real religion. Real religion deals with love, compassion, and just trying to embrace that. It's not about killing. Right. Yeah, we shouldn't force people. There's something called fanaticism, and that's in all religions, um, where you feel that your religion is superior and you try to force it down people's throat. But just like we're talking about today, the concept of knowledge, does not mean to give instruction. It means to realize from within. And so when we're giving these books, we're simply asking people, if you have a religion, you can continue practicing that religion. But by reading these books, it might make you become closer to that religion. I know some people that are Christian or were Christian, and they had no appreciation so much of their religion. But when they started reading Bhagavad Gita, that's when they started falling in love with Jesus Christ more. So that's what real religion is, to embrace the values of love, care, and compassion. Yeah. And that's why Bhagavad Gita is just such an amazing book. It's for everyone. But sometimes when you read it, it's a little tough to understand. So these types of sessions, these types of groups, it really helps out. And we're just continuing to expand more and more in different places so we can provide that type of knowledge. We have one event that we do every Thursday night called Mantra House. And it's literally like a spiritual party. Everyone's just jamming out, they're dancing, their hands are in the air, like they just don't care. And yeah, it's just really cool to see. So like I was saying, how everything's a moment to moment choice. We can choose going to a club or a disco and hear that boom 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 and doom doom doom. We're like, it's always game over. Or we can go to something much more vibrant and you can feel the purification. So let's always try to make good choices. And we make good choices with good association. So it's really important to be surrounded by good people, have good friends who want to better themselves, and in that way we can help better the world. Yeah, we're down to 3 minutes, but no problem. Right. Yeah. Pain is definitely gonna come. Just because you're a Krishna devotee doesn't mean you're free from pain, but it's about how you respond to that pain. That's the main criteria. So just like Srila Prabhupada, I mean, having his typewriter stolen after all that work of translating Bhagavad Gita, that must have been very painful. It was only possession, but it was about how he responded to that pain. He didn't stop and quit and give up and go back to India. He got stronger and better, and now he created a whole worldwide movement. So yeah, our response strengthens with spiritual knowledge. Very powerful. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you very much for being here. Hare Krishna.